Hey everyone, I'm going to be showing you a tutorial and a few tips on how to beat the new Trials of Sanctuary co-op mode on Legendary, specifically with Pharah. So for some consistency you can grab 3 other friends for this, but I found that queuing up with randoms worked fine for me since I was able to beat it twice in a row with no issues. So first off, what worked for me both times was having 2 healers, a tank, doesn't matter which one, and me as Pharah. This pretty much covers all the bases and allows you and the tank to be consistently healed and taking damage since you'll probably be taking a decent bit. So yeah, like I said, I've done this with either tank, doesn't really matter, as long as you have one on the team you should be good. And sticking with Life Weaver is probably your best bet because it gives you some good positioning, you can sit on the flower without wasting any fuel, and he can grip you out of some situations if you're taking a lot of damage or if you have a battle. So, on to our upgrades. So first off, you want to be careful with them because most of them have built-in mobility, but they encourage you to be aggressive with them. So for example, the Divine Assault upgrade, this replaces your melee with a dash attack, pretty similar to Reinhardt's charge and does some explosive damage on impact. And while this is good for clearing up some large groups, it leaves you very close to enemies when performed, so keep that in mind. It'll push you off a little bit once you hit them, but it's not enough to save you, so make sure you have your boost ready or some fuel or a concussive blast to get out of the way. I mostly use it for repositioning myself if I found that I'm getting in a tough spot or being shot at since damage racks up quickly in this difficulty. So just make sure that you have your cooldowns ready in case you need it to quickly get yourself out of harm's way. If the Divine Assault didn't kill the group, so just make sure you have that. Just be mindful how much damage it does as well, so you can start eyeballing the health of enemies and clearing them out at a certain range. On to Judge Evil. This is a pretty good upgrade for Pharah, making it to where when you use your concussive blasts on enemies, your shots will do increased damage and marks them for homing rockets. This is very good to use on the Zombairders, the blue ones that shoot. You should always be focusing these guys. Since you have the most mobility on the team at any given time, you need to use that. These things just sit in the back, pelt your team, and this can lead to some massive damage and the healers being taken out. And that just snowballs into some awful situations. So your main focus in my experience is to target these things whenever you can. The tank and healers are worried about the boss, and you can too, but make sure these things stay your top priorities because they can just start to spawn in quickly and then just be in a big group and it starts to become unstoppable at some point. On to Holy Wrath. This is one of my favorites because it allows you to do damage and get away from enemies at the same time. So now your jump jet creates a pillar of flame beneath you when you take off and it burns any nearby enemies and also ignites your rockets. This is another good option for clearing out a big group of enemies since it allows you to stack that damage on a bunch of them at once. Gives your rockets some more damage potential and allows for a quick reposition for you. Not much to say about this one, but you usually want to try to use this on groups to keep them in check, make sure you can still get away from them afterwards. And finally, Purifying Storm. This one is also one of my favorites, allowing you to launch some additional mini rockets paired with your normal ones. This just makes for some more damage output and bigger splashes with your explosions. And it pairs nicely with Judge Evil, the upgrade where your concussive blast can mark them, as it makes the mini rockets homing as well. Just a flat upgrade for Pharah, nothing too special, but gets the job done. Alright, so for the bosses. First one you're going to encounter is going to be the Frozen Demon. You just want to keep a decent distance away from this one. It's just Orisa, but she has this freezing radius with her orbs, and they're pretty big, so this can put you in a bad position if you're starting to get surrounded with no cooldowns. Nothing too special about her, but you just want to make sure that your tank has the focus instead of you. She can quickly chunk your health down if you aren't careful, and the spear she throws can really mess with things, especially if you use your ult. So just be mindful of that. The Butcher. This one, pretty straightforward fight here. Once again, keep your distance. Make sure you're clearing up any additional enemies that are attacking from afar or closing in on your team first. Whenever you have some free time, make sure you get some shots in on him, because this man is tanky. He'll mostly just be harassing your tank as long as you keep your distance. So he can still hook, he's Roadhog, so if a healer happens to get hooked, you can try to use your concussive blast to knock him away and save him if you spot that in time. He has a pretty big AoE attack that happens periodically, but since you're mostly going to be away from him and in the air, you're all good. He'll also sometimes have his whole hog ready, so just have some cover close by if he starts to target you instead of the tank. Here we have the Loot Goblin, also straightforward. This man just runs around with some good loot. His health pool is a lot smaller compared to the bosses you'll be facing, so you can just do what I did, ult him or chip him down if you have the time. Make sure you don't give up everything just to focus him, make sure your team's alright before you do that. He drops a bunch of small upgrades and a big one at random, so it's well worth it. But make sure you prioritize your team's safety over him if things are getting hectic. The Shaman, very annoying to deal with. He has a ton of health, summons enemies, He starts shooting sometimes, but damage isn't too crazy. His main thing is just spawning enemies and that crazy health pool he has. So once again, have your tank get that focus and start shooting him from above. You can be way closer to him compared to other enemies since he doesn't really have insane damage, but you're going to be relied on to clear out extra enemies and the ones he spawns as well. If he's still alive while a boss comes in, Azmodan for example, keep putting most of your damage into the Shaman since you'll probably be way faster to kill first than the new boss. And Azmodan. This is a great boss for Pharah. Hitbox is gigantic, probably won't be focusing you all that much, and pretty much all of his attacks are ground-based, meaning you'll be relatively untouched the entire fight. He's fused some lava around the ground occasionally, like Torbjorn, and it persists for a little bit, but he also has Wrecking Ball's regular ult where he leaves mines around him, and the regular slam ability as well, so you shouldn't have any problems with this fight. We decided to fight in the small room for some reason, I think because we chased the Shaman and just never left, but that just goes to show how simple the fight is. If you want this fight to be a bit easier, then you can try leading him out into the main zone where there's more space to move around in, but once again, up to you. The Shielded Demon. This is my worst nightmare in this mode. This thing is a force to be reckoned with. It doesn't display as a boss on the top of your screen, similar to the Frozen Demon, but it sure feels like the main one. Same deal as the Frozen Demon, just Orisa, but has a giant Winston bubble around her at all times. I don't think this can be broken. It doesn't look like it. So this forces you to be very close and risk taking a bunch of damage once you're in there. Enemies will be piling in, so take care of them first, and then try to get some damage in. This, in my opinion, is the hardest boss you'll encounter since you're forced to play super close to her. This allows for her to target you way more often, risk of getting hit by other enemies, and risk of hurting yourself with your own rockets on her shield, which I did a few times. So just be very careful if you decide to ult here, because you can easily not only waste the ult by getting speared or something, but you can get yourself killed in the process. I even ended up getting myself down with my own rockets here, so be wary of that. So keep mobile, take care of enemies, and go inside the bubble whenever you have the chance. Lilith, kind of a pushover. I was so afraid the first time I did this, but she ended up being super easy both times. You'll normally have her stuck inside one of these hallways, which is a great opportunity for you as Pharah. Feel free to use all your abilities on her and just let loose. She throws some damaging orbs out occasionally, but I never was really affected by it much, so your whole team will probably be hammering into her and her health goes by quick if that's the case. As long as you can get past the Shielded Demon, you're pretty much home free at this point. So that about covers it. When you play as Pharah, just be sure to utilize the fact that she is very mobile. Use that to your advantage. You can fly around to any location quickly and you'll be relied on to take care of the extra enemies. Your splash damage makes this very easy, and with each upgrade it gets even easier, so just make sure you're picking up those upgrades and keep your distance from certain bosses. Save your healers with Concussive Blast if they're getting overwhelmed, like if a bunch of zombies start going around them or they're getting targeted by a boss. Don't be afraid to use your ults on groups of enemies if that's the case. If it's starting to get overwhelming, just, let it rip. So with all this in mind, you'll be able to clear out Legendary mode no problem and get that Hero of Light tag. So thank you for watching and good luck.